Hey, good morning. This is Jean from with our weekly meeting here on Instagram Live. Today we'll talk about be fearlessly authentic in 2021. Yeah. All right. First of all, of course, Happy New Year to all of you out there and to my listeners on podcast. Of course, the podcast Thrive Not Survive After Child Abuse. I already said yesterday Happy New Year, but you know, I think we can not say it enough in the first week or maybe even the whole first month in 2021. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, I'm so happy that 2020 is over." And I do understand. By the way, I do understand. I talked on my podcast yesterday. If you missed that, go back to my podcast. I talked about it. How to be fearlessly authentic in 2021, and we'll talk about it a little bit more today. Um, but I do understand that we all want to leave 2020 behind. Although I must say, and if I hope you're not one of them, by the way, but if you're not personally affected or one of your close one by COVID-19, there might be a lot of learnings from 2020 in there. Now, one of the things that I heard probably the most from people is that they had time to reflect and rethink a little bit how they want their life to be moving forward. Some people talk about, hey, is there a new normal, or is, we need to pivot and what have you not. Every year and every day maybe has its challenges, and as you can see, some years a little bit more than other things. I think that we can make a long list of things that we can learn for ourselves first of all, but also for us as just as human beings. This was an opportunity to really work well together, and solve our problems, and in many cases we succeeded. If you think how science came together to find a cure and a vaccine, I'm not sure if they are completely successful with it, but at least the collaboration was unprecedented so far. Now the results and so on has to, of course, has to still give, but that's it. In my mind, in a lot of cases, politics didn't do so well. In a lot of cases, they were trying to use it maybe more as their poster board for to get into power or not. On the other hand, there were also a lot of governments who never have dealt with these huge, topics like a pandemic. And we need to give them some slack too, right? So, and then we saw, also I'm doing a little bit of a review of 2020, right? And then we saw we saw almost family being ripped apart of different opinions around COVID-19, and other families came way closer together because of this. Uh, Now, I think we need to do that always. 1st of January, beginning of January, end of December is always a good time to reflect. Um, but I like to always come out with bold goals and bold resolutions for the new year. Now you can make a good resolution every day, as someone said to me on January the 1st in the middle of the night, and that is absolutely true. But these are these special days, and what I said this year: be fearlessly authentic in 2021. Um, and but the question is, and I had some questions around it immediately when I posted. Can you help me with that? And sure, I mean that's one of the things that a life coach is doing. But the question backs here is, can you ever not be yourself, right? Can you ever not be yourself, right? And are the things sometimes that you do that you don't like in yourself, are those things that you think that are not you, right? So I take the podcast from yesterday a little bit to another level today. So do we have that? The day before that, I talked about the imposter syndrome, right? And that's the feeling that you sometimes feel that you're a fraud, like that you're not as good as people think that you are, and that doesn't build your confidence. But do you know that about 70% of the people, professional people mostly, actually they suffer from that feeling at times. Some say to a large extent. You wouldn't be surprised if you hear the list of celebrities who would admit that that they suffer from that, right? That they have the feeling that is an imposter that's at work, me, right? I get all these accolades, I get an Oscar, or get these real big things. And I had it myself too. I mean, I gave this example where I had to, give a lecture to dancers, which is very normal for me. By the way, I love it. It's one of the things that I love to do. Just stand in front of ballroom dancers. If you don't know what kind of dancing I'm talking about, ballroom dancers, and make them better dancers. I love to do that. Can do that the whole day. But at times, colleagues of mine are sitting in the lecture just because they want to see that. And there was one day where literally top level coaches in the world, the ex world champions and Blackpool champions. And if that doesn't say anything to you at the moment, then I'll explain it to you in another podcast. But at least I got nervous, and suddenly I felt like, wow, now they see that actually I'm not that good of a coach as they want to believe and stuff like that. So my imposter was playing tricks with me. Um, and we have that. It doesn't really matter. So sometimes we have to just remember what we actually did in life, just factual, not to blow it out of proportions, but it's not bad to once in a while make a list of your accolades that you did, right? A lot of things you did often more to do that because we can have some sort of false modesty and think no, it's just pure luck. That's the thing that I hear a lot. People say no, I'm not that good. It's just luck. Yeah, sometimes you need to be at the right place at the right moment. This is what they say. Absolutely true. But I know that you always have to prepare yourself for the opportunity or for the luck. Otherwise, you won't get it either, right? So that's a good thing. Prepare yourself for luck. Prepare yourself for opportunity in 2021. And then we come back a little bit about the authentic you. Yeah, so let me go in that. Actually, you can never not be you. You can feel that you're not at your best. That is true, but it is always you. And there is danger in the other thing that I was talking about, things like imposter syndrome and stuff like that, by giving people the idea that it's not them, right? That it was not really you. It's maybe not the you that I know, right? So if I talk to my partner and she and I work a lot on the dance floor, and maybe she gets suddenly really angry or something, right? And that's maybe the first time that happened, and that's maybe not a side that I know of that person, but it's still her. And I sometimes say, "Oh, that doesn't look like you. Actually, we shouldn't do that. It's always you." And here's the thing, right? We should try to embrace every part that shows up in our life of ourselves, even the ugly parts. And that's the best way to find out a way to deal with these parts. But because if you had a life, and I certainly had one, you know, then there are many things that we, don't like to talk about so much. We have a little bit of shame of it. Sometimes we have a big shame of it, right? I'm a sexual abuse a survivor, and all of them have a big shame of what happened in their past, even if it was not their fault at all. But can you feel it? And I do it on purposely. You suppress, your experience and your feelings that are coming from that period, or maybe even from that one event, right? It could be a feeling of guilt. Maybe you had the feeling that maybe I gave some cause for the things that happened to me. It could be all kind of weird thing. It might be that you said something really bad to a person that you didn't want to say, and you can forget that. You sometimes have that with your children, right? You've been a little bit more angry at them than you wanted to be, and so on and so on. So there are many things that you put down, but it's all you, right? And at some point in time, you have to let these things out. Now, I'm not one of those people that think that you have to relive every moment of the past and then everything will be okay. No, but it's, I think about it like this, right? If you see your life, including 2020, if you see life as a big cupboard, right? And if you've been to China, you go to one of these stores where they sell all these Chinese herbs and stuff like that. You see this huge cupboard, and they have this really tiny little drawers in there, like not big drawers, but little drawers. And then there, of course, are all kind of signs on them. None of them I can read. But think about your life as that. It's just a huge cupboard, and there's all this little drawers in there, and some are really filled with really good memories, and you can look into them, and some are filled with not so good memories, and you can look at them once in a while. Now, in some cases, bad coaching, bad therapy, all these kind of things happen, and sometimes not even on purpose. What we do, regression therapy, if that's not done well, someone rips all these little drawers open and say you have to relive your past, and we just guess what happened if all these drawers come open, right? The whole cupboard would tilt over and you would completely crash. But if you guide it, you can guide yourself, you can do it in group session, you can do it with a coach. If you once in a while want to look at one of these drawers that were a little bit harder to open, and one of the things, them literally where they are. Sometimes you don't even know them where they are, by the way, but often you know them where they are, and you can peek in them. And sometimes one of these drawers get opened, without even knowing. And then we say, oh, that's not me. That was also you. Also the ugly parts of you are you. And you should try to accept that. That's when you become authentically you, right? It's really if you accept every of those parts, right? And these things come out in a way that we don't like so much. That's why we sometimes over emotional in a situation that actually didn't warrant that type of emotion. Over angry, if you have a lot of suppressed anger, a lot of drawers that kept closed, you get in a situation and you get over angry. Road rage is a good example of these things, right? It's kind of unreleased anger. So there's a way to open these things. And if you think about it, that you're in a room, right? This closet, everything is in the dark, so to speak. If you open it up, you shine a light in it. It's a little drawer, right? And the light, and that's what we need to do. Everything in our life deserves to be in the light, even your most ugliest thing. And I know that really well because I've written a book on the topic. And one of the things is how to tell a thing that you have been really struggling with, and it could be abused. In my case, it was abused, and how healing that could be for you, right? So think about the things. If you want to be authentically you, yes, you need to focus on how to hone your skills and how to get your goals and achievements and stuff like that. But start also to work a little bit once in a while to look at these little drawers and bring these parts, into the light, in your own light, and that's also you. There's not a part in you that is not you. It's maybe caused by something that was not done by you, like an abuse situation or another traumatic experience. But it's still you, right? Everything that's in you is you, right? And that's when you accept that. That's truly when you become authentically you, right? If you can talk about it openly, it doesn't have to do it on Instagram Live or or on my podcast, or you can just tell it to someone else, or sometimes you just tell it to your journal. That's how you become authentically you, right? Does that make sense? And most of the things that we don't want to talk about, they come out in at times that you don't want to come out. If you had a bad experience, this is always my favorite example of these things, right? If you had a bad experience with meeting another person and you want to have a relationship, right? And that didn't so well, your relationship, specifically if you're very young and you're kind of clumsy, right? And then you meet that person that you really like, and um, and for some reasons you want to be a little bit different. You want to show, of course, the best side of you, right? You want to be, I don't know what you do, and then you say the weirdest things. They just come out, right? So these we call that I call that shadow parts. These shadow parts, they always come out, and they come out often at times that you don't like them, and it's not always bad, right? It's not always that you get angry, but it could be like, wow, why did I say that when I like that girl so much, and now I said something really dumb, right? That could definitely happen, right? That that often does. It's just the same thing, and then you ask yourself, why did I say that? But so that's in a situation when you want to have a girlfriend, but just take this situation a little bit further. You go to a job interview. You really want to have that job. And if you are a little bit like me, I talk a lot, and I need to talk to think, right? Some people think and then talk, think, talk. But my words help me to think when I talk. So it's a very risky thing in a job interview where you can say very wrong things when they when you are in an interview. So a little bit off topic here, but Jean is known from that. Um, I was working for a company, an American company, and I had to hire people for my team. And there was this, and all these interviews, obviously, they were in English. And my colleague, and actually he was at the time my boss, his name was Paul. His, he's Belgian, but his English is impeccable, right? And his accent is just, you would not know that he's not a native English speaker, right? Seriously. And I was sitting there, and my English is not bad, but you can clearly hear that I am Dutch most of the time, specifically at that time. And we interviewed someone from the Netherlands, so it's a country fellow man. So both of us, both of the interviewers and the interviewer and the interviewee, the candidate, we speak Dutch, right? But we did the conversation in English. And the other person did not know that Paul was actually also really good in Dutch. Now I'm just setting up the stage here, and this person was very nervous, and this is a very nice person, by the way, very nervous. But if you know something about Dutch people and how we talk in the Netherlands, we use the SHIT word, yeah, the same. We say it in English, right? We don't say it in our own language. We say it in English. It is we use it common. It's like we kind of know a little bit that you should not do that in an interview, but in normal things, people. If I come home in the Netherlands, I'm just shocked how often people use that word, right? And SHIT. And this person, there was a she said it a few times in an interview, and then she said at some point in time she said SHIT, and then she said again, oh shit, I didn't want to say that, shit, I said it again, and she kept saying the word and trying not to say it. Now that's a really good example of something that's coming out that she didn't want to come out. It's not about the word itself, but it's the nervous that actually cracked open a little bit, let's say, the seal that we have, right? So sometimes we want to need to keep our composure, and in some situations you need to keep your composure, like in a job interview. But if you suppress a lot of that nervousness, in this case, in her case, it was nervousness, then that comes out, right? And it came out in her in a funny way. We had a good laugh about it, but you could see that situation easily be a little bit more tricky, right? So that comes to the last point that I want to make today. So do we play roles? And if you're authentically you, do you never play a role? Well, of course you do. Of course you do. In that situation that I was talking to you about, I was an interviewer for a candidate who wanted to have a job, and I was a manager in that company, and that's my role. That doesn't mean that it's not Jean. It's just Jean in the role of a manager, and that could be non-authentic or authentic. That's kind of complicated as it sounds, but it's seriously true. I never tried to be someone else in that role. Or probably I did a few times, to be honest, right? So if I'm a teacher, and I'm a dance teacher, and I start to teach in about 2 hours from now, it's still me that's teaching, right? It's not someone else that is teaching, it's still me. It's just me in that role of teaching. So being authentically you doesn't mean that you always are the same person, right? You're the same person, but it doesn't mean that you always have the same role. So we also need to know the roles that we maybe had in the past that we didn't want to, but they're still you. Does that make sense? That is being authentically you, is that you do that. And then at some point in time, you know exactly how and what emotions are appropriate to certain situations. Doesn't mean that you're always kind of like in the middle of something. No, if something super nice happens, I want you to burst from happiness and freedom and joy and whatever you not. And if something really bad happened in your life, then you have time and places to really express that sadness, and you need to take time for that as well. But kind of you sometimes want to suppress that and then it comes out in a different way, right? So anyhow, authentically you, embrace all parts in you. That's what I want to say. That's what you make you truly authentic. This was Shah on Instagram Live every Saturday at 10 o'clock in the morning in Dallas time. If you want to hear more of us, come and visit us also on The Place. It's a virtual place. It is on Facebook Live. And if you send me a personal message, then I also send you an invite that you can join the conversation and have a talk with the group. And we welcome you there. And it's called The Place, where we always have a little bit of a larger, call it a coaching topic or a life topic that we discuss. You can also follow us on our podcast, you know, uh, uh, um, thriving and not surviving after child abuse. I had to think about that for a moment. You see that? If not, then I'll hope to see you next week. And I wish you a really, really good weekend. And of course, I can still say that to all the people here on Instagram. Happy New Year. This was Sean. Bye bye.